Okay, so I'm going to be reviewing my behaviorist biography, Milestone 4, the rough draft for Dr. Lee Kern. So the introduction, Dr. Lee Kern is currently a faculty member at Lehigh University. She's a professor and director of the Center for Promoting Research to Practice. Dr. Kern specializes in special education and conducts research on positive behavior support, behavior disorders, and ADHD. Dr. Kern is actively researching and has 2 research projects that are currently being funded. The population that she has worked with is humans, specifically children and adolescents. Dr. Kern's contribution to behavior analysis consists of teaching ABA courses at the graduate level to prepare students to sit for the BCBA examination. Dr. Kern was also a part of opening an autism services clinic at Lehigh University in 2018 with the Dean of the College of Education. Dr. Kern is best known for being one of the main editors for the Journal of Positive Behavior Intervention. I conducted research on Dr. Kern's contribution to literature and will then explain my findings. So I've attached some pictures. So right here we have a picture of Dr. Kern, a picture of what the Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions looks like, as well as the logo that she uses for the autism clinic that she opened. So next, for articles and books. So the articles and books that I researched were Young Children with ADHD, Early Identification and Intervention, first edition, Addressing the Needs of Students with Social, Emotional, and Behavioral Problems for Reflections and Visions, Remedial and Special Education, Assessment-Based Antecedent Interventions Used in Natural Settings to Reduce Challenging Behavior, an Analysis of the Literature, Education, and Treatment of Children, Description of an Iterative Process for Intervention Development, Education, and Treatment of Children, an evaluation of the functional behavioral assessment process used with students with or at risk for emotional and behavioral disorders, educational and treatment of children, and the Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions. In each of these articles and books, she was either the main author, the contributing author, or for the Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions, one of the main editors. So, some summary of her work. Common elements of Dr. Kern's literature consist of ADHD, intervention development, functional behavioral assessments, autism, etc. Lee Kern was a contributing author to Young Children with ADHD, Early Identification and Intervention, written by George DuPaul. The book contains information on assessments and intervention methods for children with ADHD. Topics covered are how ADHD is identified in children, early intervention models, medication, family support, as well as home and school-based interventions. In addressing the needs of students with social, emotional, and behavioral problems, Dr. Kern discusses the classroom challenges that educators may face for students who have behavioral and emotional disorders. Kern discusses using positive behavior support, building relationships through mentoring, and adaptations to help improve the lives of students. Dr. Kern discusses assessment-based antecedent interventions in the use of natural settings to reduce challenging behavior. The article reviews current research. Kern discusses ABC data, which is antecedents, behavior, and consequence, as a method of identifying and reducing behaviors. A study was conducted to test the correlation between interventions, types of disabilities, and setting. In the article, Kern and the authors discuss efforts to improve American education over the last 10 years. Researchers have found that recent efforts have focused on using randomized control trials to determine determine the effectiveness of interventions. Agencies such as the Institute for Educational Sciences have provided funding for experimental research. Kern found that the current literature lacks information on how to conduct iterative processes of intervention. Kern discusses concerns of lack of research support within the field of education. In an article written by Kern with the assistance of Hilt and Gresham, she talks about functional behavioral assessments. Support plans are typically created to work towards decreasing problem behaviors. The issue explored is how there is a limited research on applications for students with EBD in classroom settings. Articles published within the period of 1982 and 2003 were used. A study was done in which participants with EBD were selected and categorized by age and types of EBD, such as severe, at-risk, ADHD, oppositional, other, etc. Assessment methods include direction of observation, interviews, rating scales, and person-centered planning, record interview, and analog functional analysis. So some research mock interview questions I developed if I was able to interview Dr. Kern would be: 1, why would you decide to open up an autism clinic? I thought it was really interesting that she decided to open one within the university. The second question I have would be, what were some of the evidence-based intervention techniques that were provided to the individuals in the clinic? The third would be, what are some important things to know about positive behavior interventions? I thought this would be an important question to ask, especially since she is one of the main editors for the Positive Behavior Interventions Journal. The fourth question that I would have are, what are some topics you're hoping to conduct research on in the future? It was interesting to learn about the research and the topics that she has already discussed, but I was curious to see what else she was planning on covering. And the fifth and final question I would have would be, do you feel like your current work has had a positive effect on behavioral analysts? The next one is importance to the field of ABA. Dr. Kern has had a large impact on the field of ABA. Her research has largely contributed to students within Lehigh University who are studying to become a BCBA, set the tone for the Journal of Positive Behavior Interventions, as well as the parents of the children who are being seen at the clinic that she developed. Her work has been proven to be impactful for clinical practice in her area. Students can implement evidence-based practices within her clinic. Dr. Kern's work impacts basic behavior knowledge because of her extensive research on promoting research to practice. Based on what I learned, I would be able to apply the knowledge I learned as a beginning behavior analyst. I think that Dr. Kern is a great person to learn from due to her many years of experience and because of her level of success. The information I learned about antecedents, behaviors, and consequences will be useful to identifying functions of behaviors within sessions. After learning about methods to better the relationships between teachers, I thought about how this information would be useful to better the relationships with my clients and their families, as well as relationships between individuals that I will be collaborating with. Okay, and that is the end of my presentation for the Behaviorist Biography Milestone 4.